Hello?
I hear the same tired complaints every day, but one has made so many repeat appearances I feel it has to be addressed. Razorfist, why do you hate everything? Are there any games you actually like? Well, putting aside the fact that my videos are an even split between positive and negative reviews, you're damn right there are games I like, a shitload of games, and looming like a monolithic obelisk over them all is Looking Glass Studios' masterpiece, Thief 2: The Metal Age. This being a sequel, one might assume the story would have a fair amount of exposition, perhaps a bit of a recap of the previous game, a cutscene that explains that you defeated a fucking god and saved the world's ass in Thief the Dark Project? Nope. Afraid not. This is Looking Glass Studios, folks. They trust you aren't a complete paste-eating fucktard. Any information you need to know will be acquired via reading in-game text or through overheard conversations.
And I'm telling you that the only stench heartier than your rotting burrick of a master is the liquor on his fetid breath. If he comes near Lady Van Vernon again, we'll boil his knickers.
All of which is completely optional. You see, the Thief series is like the antithesis of every lame hand-holding modern game you've ever heard of. If you're looking for glowing trails or gigantic arrows dripping with developmental condescension to lead you to your next objective, then you'll likely want to circumvent the Thief series entirely and play Mario Sunshine, you drooling fucking moron. Its story is completely linear, mind you, there's no denying that, and there are cutscenes, absolutely beautiful ones while we're at it, but once that mission starts, the handcuffs are off. If you want to jump through the skylight and rob the shit out of the warehouse, go right ahead. Want to swim through a drain pipe? Knock yourself out. Hell, you can even waltz right in the front door with your schwanz hanging out and announce your presence with all the subtlety of a sheen meth bender. It's your game. You're the thief. Be the best Bernie Madoff you can be. Thief 2, as with any game in the series, is a decidedly dark affair, which is simultaneously an aesthetic choice and a function of the first game being called the goddamn Dark Project. Would you believe I've actually heard complaints the game is too dark? Oh, for fuck's sake, read the subtitle. It's not called Sunkissed Presents Thief, Rainbow Assault on Shining Time Station. It's called the fucking Dark Project. I'm convinced it could be called Dark Darkness, starring Darky McDark at dark o'clock on the darkth of dark, and some oblivious dipshit would still say, "Why is this game so dark?" As the moniker suggests, the game's stealth system is based on varying degrees of light and shadow, literally inverting the standard FPS logic with regard to dark rooms. In Doom 3, for example, you're not exactly jumping for joy when you have to enter a room that's unilluminated, and thus enhancing the possibility it's filled with cranky monsters. In Thief, the safest place to be is a pitch-black room, because even if an enemy gets curious and stupid enough to wander into the utter nebulous blackness, the best he can hope for is an impromptu nap, followed by the realization that his pants are missing. In Thief 2, your only clues to your enemy's whereabouts are your eyes and, perhaps more importantly, your ears. To those acclimated to the backflipping cyborg ninja adventures of one solid snake, this can be decidedly jarring. Garrett doesn't possess a magic radar that reveals the position and facing of every enemy in the Western Hemisphere, so he has to do things like lean his ear against a door to hear how close an enemy is on the other side. This goes both ways, though. See, apparently Garrett's ideal thieving apparel consists of a long Batman cape and a pair of ceramic tap shoes, so if you go charging out over, say, a well-polished marble floor without any soft, quiet carpeting, expect pugnacious sword-wielding company. When this happens, your best bet is to drop a flash bomb and because in stark contrast to, say, Altair, any single combat involving Garrett is also likely to involve a memorial service. Which brings me to the character of Garrett. The shadowy, almost faceless protagonist of the Thief series speaks more about his inner character in 3 words than an asymmetrical epicene fucktard from Final Fantasy can say in a 20-minute cutscene soliloquy. At the advent of Thief 2, we find the Master Thief, who lost his eye during the events of the first game, has had it replaced by a mechanical one thanks to a new religious order known as the Mechanists, a cult-like offshoot of the dominant religious order in the city, the Hammerites. If that seems circuitous and confusing, then just think of the Hammerites as the Catholic Church, and the Mechanists as the Heaven's Gate cult. While the Hammerites value craft and service, the Mechanists are more fascinated with pursuing the evolution of the steampunk technology you see gradually creeping into the dark Victorian medieval setting. Garrett isn't a hero, and he isn't a cliché one-liner dispensing badass either. He wants to steal shit and get paid. It's a breath of fresh air in an industry filled with arisers with spiky-haired emo dildos and bearded compensatory troglodytes, but not as refreshing as the actual gameplay. In a modern stealth game, particularly the recent abortions like Splinter Cell Conviction or Assassin's Creed Creed Brotherhood, you're essentially forced to encounter and murder the enemy multiple times, and sometimes you're even overtly required to engage in slam-down, drag-out gun or sword fights with large groups of enemies. But in Thief, each level is deliberately designed so that you never once even have to knock out an enemy. If you're playing Thief 2 the Metal Age well, the enemy should never know anyone was there, and it's that sort of design that makes the player feel empowered and godlike. You'll be blown away by what you can get away with in Thief 2, from robbing a crowded party in progress, to walking right into a sealed bank vault like you own the place, to slipping in a bedroom window and picking people's pockets while they sleep. Garrett manages to impress in ways the most overblown explosive Halo set piece fails miserably at.
No need for alarm, ladies.
You glide with wraith-like grace from one impregnable fortress to another, stealing everything not nailed down, and if you want to whip out your sword or bow or kill some bitches because you're feeling bored, you can do that too, but Thief's true rewards are found in the shadows. To reiterate, a straight confrontation in Thief 2 will likely end with multiple shafts plunging into your body, and no, I'm not talking about fucking arrow wounds. If there's a single category where the game departs from the pack with aplomb, however, then it's level design. In what other stealth game, in what other game can you spend upwards of an hour and a half to 2 hours just exploring a single level? That's as long as a single Metal Gear Solid cutscene, for Christ's sake. Each environment is teeming with voluminous detail, whether it's the letters you stumble across written to a guard's wife back home, or the conversations you overhear between bored and indifferent guards. It all congeals to provide the player with the unmistakable impression that people actually live and work in this environment. It's not just a level, it's a place. The Thief series attracts awards like public restrooms attract cross-dressing Republican congressmen, so you may be wondering at this point what makes the second game in the series so exceptional. After all, a quick once-over of the series' Metacritic page reveals that all three games are similarly acclaimed. Well, simply put, and without giving too many plot details away, while Thief the Dark Project was more of a supernatural game, and Thief Deadly Shadows was more of an urban game, Thief 2 is for the most part a game about grand medieval heists and burglary. In short, of the three games in the series, it's the one most representative of the Thief title. Thief 2, while again spotlighting a looming catastrophic event, manages to allow ample time for Garrett's kleptomaniac interludes. The first third of the game is Garrett robbing places, while unable to shake the feeling that some bad shit's about to go down. Some people bemoan this indirect narrative, but I feel it allows the full story to unfold more naturally. Instead of palling around with the undead, Garrett's robbing patricians blind, and it's fucking brilliant. This is an 11-year-old game we're talking about here, an 11-year-old game which I bought and played when it launched in 2000, and I'm still learning and discovering new depths to it over a decade subsequent to its release. That's the kind of depth the empty suits at Ubisoft give speeches about at E3 without ever actually delivering, and that tireless perfectionism and aesthetic gravitas also cost Looking Glass the right to exist in a modern gaming environment that values quick paydays and endlessly rehashed sequels over long-term quality. But if there's one thing the release of Shadows of the Metal Age, an entirely fan-made expansion for Thief 2, has shown us, it's that for all the critical acclaim and financial stability of relatively generic titles like Metal Gear Solid, when a developer undertakes the creation of an exhaustively ambitious, truly innovative, and more importantly, really fun game, eventually someone will find it, and they'll treasure it far more than the latest banal Call of Duty sequel. I'm Razor Fist. God. Fucking speed, you tappers.
This is just what I was looking for. Hope this is a safe place to... I think I deserve a pat on the back for that one. Damn, I didn't mean for that to happen. Bastard.